All yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Michael Stapf. I'm a representative of Warren, Washington, Albany ARC. I've been going to Warren, Washington, Albany ARC for almost 9 years now. What we like about our staff is that they're there for a reason. They're there to help us when we need it. They're there to spend time with us. They're there to make a difference in our lives. And without the proper money, we're not able to keep them around. And we want to be able to do that. We want to be able to have the money so we can keep hiring people like that to work with all of us. We want to have the best people possible working with us. And that's what I feel is important. And without that money being provided, what kind of people are we?
You're right. You're right.
Michael and Roland, you're one of 130,000 people in the state receiving services, and it's just one of those special stories here. But it speaks to the passion, it speaks to the importance of this issue. I'd like to invite Mary Ann Allen to come and share with us a little bit of the perspective about what it's like to be a family member of an individual with a developmental disability receiving services in the system, and what it means for direct support professionals in your life.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Mary Ann Allen, and I'm Matthew's mother. My son is a wonderful 29-year-old man who makes me laugh, challenges my patience and creativity, warms my heart, worries my mind, and lives every day with the profound challenges of autism. He's 6 feet 3 inches tall, and he weighs over 275 pounds. He doesn't understand most of what is spoken to him, and that makes him very anxious. He has low muscle tone, obsessive-compulsive disorder, reflux disease, poor coordination, and an inability to tolerate a lot of food textures. He needs almost total help, bathing, shaving, and brushing his teeth. He requires eyes-on supervision because of his inability to perceive danger. He takes several medications every day, and all of those medications have to be administered by someone else because he does not understand the concept of medication and safe or proper dosages. He has very limited communication skills. If he's not feeling well, he may say sore throat, and then it's up to the rest of us to decide whether that means his ears hurt, his throat really does hurt, he's about to be sick to his stomach, he has a headache, a fever, or the beginnings of the flu. If the wrong guess is made, he gets ill very quickly, and we've ended up in the hospital more than once. When he can't find the words to express his anxiety, he will use his body to push, shove, hit, kick, or scream his way out of the situation. 6.5 years ago, for reasons that he'll never be able to tell us, he experienced a profound behavioral crisis, and his dad and I ended up being his sole caregivers in our home. After he hurt us to the point that we could not physically care for him, he was referred to the crisis program for adults with autism at the OD Developmental Center. 30 days of respite so that we could heal ended up being 4.5 years. However, he improved significantly once he was out of our home. In retrospect, we think he was telling us that he wanted a life of his own, a life that was not totally dependent on social interaction with and caregiving from his parents. 2 years ago, when ODHEC closed, Matthew transitioned into a community-based residential program operated by a local nonprofit provider agency. 4 other young men, all of whom came from institutional settings, live with him in 2 residences situated in a side-by-side duplex. All 5 young men are complex and demanding. In the last 2 years, the staff in his home and the home next door have completely turned over twice. Imagine your own homes feeling like a train station, and then overlay autism onto that. At times, total chaos resulted, and that took a huge toll on my son and on our family. Right now, his staffing is stable, but I hold my breath every day and pray as hard as I can every night, because our family's experience is that good people don't stay. They love Matthew dearly, despite all of his challenges, and they leave with tears in their eyes, but they simply can't make ends meet. Each and every day, I have to trust that the people who are with Matthew have the understanding, compassion, judgment skills, clinical skills, intuition, and concern to respond to all of his needs quickly and correctly. The level of knowledge, professionalism, composure, judgment, and sheer effort that we ask of the people who work every day with our loved ones with developmental disabilities is beyond extraordinary. If the supports and services that we are constitutionally obligated to provide in New York to our most vulnerable citizens are to survive, then our focus has to be on the direct support professionals and what they need to sustain their commitment to our loved ones. They need and deserve a paycheck that respects what we ask of them. They need to be able to pay their bills. They need to have the ability to work one job, not three, so that they can give all of their efforts to our loved ones and have time left over for their own lives. They need not to be defeated by all the regulatory, documentation, and compliance requirements that are continually added on to their already overwhelming responsibilities. They need not to live in fear of the Justice Center. When all is said and done, the integrity of New York's system of services for people with developmental disabilities depends totally on the quality of the interactions that occur every day between people, between our loved ones and the direct support professionals who support them. If those interactions are transient, unstable, and colored with stress, then supports and services available to our loved ones will be the same. Without continued enhancement of the salaries paid to New York's direct support professionals, they will leave their jobs and we will not find replacements. That reality is already occurring. Every day, providers supporting our loved ones are competing against a drastically reduced workforce as more and more baby boomers retire and fewer workers choose human services. I leave you with this. During the 2 years since he's left ODPEC, Matthew has not had one incident of aggression. He currently volunteers at a local nonprofit serving the homeless, disabled, and economically disadvantaged, where he makes and delivers food to its soup kitchen every week. He delivers Meals on Wheels to the elderly. He has learned how to read. He is a regular at several local restaurants, and they look forward to his patronage and his jokes. He selects and goes to the movies once a week and engages the entire audience with his sheer delight of slapstick comedy. He is happy and healthy, and his life is full of positive interactions with people who are not just his mom and dad. He has changed and bettered all of our lives, and the cost of his current supports are a fraction of what they were when he was in crisis at ODPEC. All of those realities are the results of the DSPs in his life. I can't take credit for any of them. Why would we not want to invest in that? Thank you.
Kirk up to the podium, I want to remind people of the crisis that really is focused on, that these organizations are facing. Number one, there is the minimum wage and the increases in the minimum wage here in this state that take effect or begin taking effect in December of this year. We also have new changes at the federal level in relation to the overtime exemption policy, which place whole new burdens on these organizations to be able to pay their staff adequately for the hours that they work. Number three, we have wage funding increases that have totaled only 4%. 4% over 8 years, which is eroding the ability of unsustainable staff recruiting, the staff vacancy and turnover rates are just simply unbearable. I mentioned the statistics before. I want to revisit them really quickly because I think they pertain in part to Kirk's experience in Schenectady. Direct care staff vacancy rate is currently 9.3%, a 20% increase over last year. The direct care staff turnover rate is 23%, a 21% increase over last year. And lastly, direct care staff overtime hours total 6.4 million. That's a 13.5% increase over last year. The trending on this clearly points to a big problem, a crisis for these organizations. So we've invited Kirk Lewis from the Schenectady ARC to share some of his perspectives.
I wish I could do what Assemblyman Wiesenberg did. He speaks better than I do going both ways, but this is a critical issue. We have a workforce crisis. I'm the Executive Director at Schenectady ARC. We have 240 positions in our residential program, 240 people who do the jobs that Roland described, that Mary Ann Allen described. We have 64 vacancies right now, a quarter of those positions that we can't fill. And we have good, valuable people who care, who are looking at us and saying, we can't afford to continue working here. We can't afford to continue doing what we love because the pay is too low. We have to do better. We have to do better. We have a crisis. We are asking people to work extra overtime. People are working extra jobs. The minimum wage 10 years ago, our starting pay was $3 above the minimum wage. Now, our starting pay in one of our programs is just at 7 cents above minimum wage. We have no quarrel with the minimum wage going up. The minimum wage has to go up, but our rates have to go up and allow us to pay the wages our workers deserve. As Michael said, the rates have gone up 8% in a time period when the minimum wage goes to $9.70 at the end of this year. That's a 43% increase over where it was 10 years ago. Our wages, our rates that we use to pay the wages have not kept up. We have the best workers in the state. I tell our employees that. I meet with our new employees every month when they come in, and our most important employees are our GSPs. And again, Mary Ann said it better than I could. But like Mary Ann, I have a family member. My brother lives in one of our houses, attends one of our day programs. I know the quality, the care, the dedication that he gets. These are not minimum wage jobs. These are the most important jobs that we have, and we deserve better. Thank you.
I'm looking at the Walmart press release from January of this year talking about the fact that they are raising the average annual full-time rate in which they pay their employees to $13.38 an hour. $13.38 an hour. How are these upholding those responsibilities? Our next speaker I'd like to invite up is Senator Ortt. He's the committee chair of Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities.
Hard to top what the other speakers have said without being a little redundant, but I will simply say there's an old saying that if you look at, show me your budget and I'll show you your priorities. And it would be hard to argue that out of a $150 billion budget, with the amount of money that we dedicate to this community, that it's a priority for the state of New York. And I say that collectively. There are champions, many of them who are here today. My colleague in the Assembly, Chairwoman Gunther, my colleague in the Senate, Senator David Carlucci. There are champions for this community. However, when you look at the final numbers, it's hard to say that this is a priority for New York State. And when you look at the amount of money that has been removed from this area, it's really hard to say it's a priority for New York State. And that's shameful. That's one. Two, when we're focusing on, there was a lot of talk, obviously, when it came to the minimum wage about fast food workers. You heard the former Assemblyman Harvey talk about when people who work at McDonald's make more than people who take care of our most vulnerable people in this state. Our loved ones, our children, our brothers, our sisters. I think the average person in New York State says this is what drives them nuts about government. The priorities seem out of place. The priorities seem backwards or out of focus or the wrong priorities. We should be taking care of. Government does have an obligation. And I say this as a very proud conservative Republican, but government has an obligation to take care of those who cannot take care of themselves. We can't provide a fair wage to the people who take care of our loved ones. What does that say about us as a state and as a people? And so it is my sincere hope, I'm the sponsor of the bill in the Senate, to get this message across. I know my colleague in the Assembly